but still a lot of time. It's like a 6-week season. Even if you play a lot of your matches early on, you still have that time before we get into playoffs where you can improve as a team, even if you're not playing on stream.
Exactly, and I think that's the thing for both these rosters, and specifically for SereNity. Kind of when we, at the top of today's show, we sort of talked about the fact that Legacy, even in the past, have always been near that top 4. This coveted top 4. Legacy have been that 5th place team for the longest of times. SereNity have been very far outside of that, but now they're kind of threatening Legacy. They've done some massive catch-up, and by the end of the season, they may even overtake, and we might even see that happening today.
Yeah, the potential for today to make big impacts when it comes to the ladder. Well, let's kick it off. Legacy up against SereNity. Of course, it is control point to start things off, and Wuvo is where we're going to start things right now here on the Farah. Love to find an early pick. Would love to just build up some of that ult charge as well to get things going. What do we think about these team lineups, AVRL?
No surprises from Cavino either. We know him as a Sombra main. We know this is his comfort pick. Now let's see what he can do with that as well. Targeting Wuvo or Strawbella would be ideal here.
Caramel Koala trying to do a fair bit of damage here. We've seen Wuvo actually get 2 kills already. Caramel Koala going to pick up 2 very, very quickly as well. And right now, straight away, that ticks over to Legacy and does so convincingly here in this first fight.
Legacy kind of just walking over SereNity there. They knew what their strengths were. Work around the fact that there is a Sombra. Make sure that you don't lose your aerial players. And Cavino going to make that change. Now going onto the Soldier instead, wanting a bit more of a direct counter.
And so much ult charge getting built up here for Legacy as well. For me, that last fight was almost like the big kid in the schoolyard coming in asking for your pocket money and you're just handing it over. That's essentially all we got to see. Well, let's see if the second fight is any different. However, straight away we can see Wuvo ready to go on the barrage. Picks up 2. Forble's actually finally managing to take him down, but it does matter in the end of things because 33% now on the clock for Legacy. And again, you can see, look at all these ults ready to go.
And a res as well means you don't have to wait for Wuvo to come back into play. Legacy, you've already mentioned their ultimates, about to head into 5. Wuvo already used a rocket to barrage to pretty big effect, and SereNity waiting for their first one. Forbles is going to be the first to get the Transcendence after getting a kill onto Wuvo, but it's a little bit slow. We're more than 50% through the map already.
Yeah, less than ideal. Caramel Koala once again trying to do the stuff. Got that Pulse Bomb ready to go as well. We'll see where that one gets thrown out. Transcendence does come out. Manages to stick onto the D.Va and cleans them up there with the pistols. Probably going to find the frag there in the end as well. There we go, nicely done. Almost booped off, stays alive. Pushing through, 70% is where they're at. Skull finally going down on that D.Va. We can see across the board a bit of damage coming out here onto Legacy, but it's not going to be enough. Slowly but surely, they're building this up. 80% even, AVRL. Looking very, very good now for Legacy.
That was a huge string of trades, though, coming out from SereNity. They just couldn't quite convert that into a team fight win. Floro died with the sound barrier. Maybe he should have committed that one around. Cavino now finally getting to the tactical visor. This could be the swing fight for SereNity, and they're going to need to have it here.
We're going to see 1, 2 ultimates now coming out here for SereNity once again.
Shut down.
That is all they've got to use. And yes, Legacy now. Still, everyone looking very, very strong. Well, SereNity's found 2. And that's actually a huge play there coming out as the ultimate from the Farah going to get, I guess, not removed, but slowed down very much so there. And Caramel Koala trying to do the work. It's 99%. What can SereNity do? It may be too much. See how long Skull can stay alive. On the point, still going strong. Knocked out of mech form, Caramel Koala pushing through.
They kept it.
Yeah.
That's really interesting for SereNity. They were able to sneak it under from Legacy Esports. Now kind of still just getting themselves back on the point. They still do get the kills though, so despite SereNity just putting the stopgap in there, it seems like this boat will still sink.
Yeah, less than ideal. You kind of, you know, you got one bucket and it looks like you've got the better of it, but in reality, somewhere else in the boat's actually leaking. So pretty good lighthouse here coming out from Legacy, quite convincing.
As an early start, I think, is very telling of, you know, we've seen a lot of these early starts snowball quite heavily for a lot of teams, and even in the teams where the kind of even less favored team got the early start, it's helped them a lot. But when you get the maybe even perhaps favored team here, Wuvo specifically targeting onto Cavino was so important. They're first on the Sombra, who was probably one of his counters, and then when he came back as a soldier, Cavino we're talking about here, Wuvo again targeting him straight away. Rocket Barrage sends him straight back to the respawn room, and SereNity just didn't have an answer to Wuvo for the longest of times.
What is the answer? Is it just play better? Are they picking the wrong comp?
No, they had the right comps. I mean, Sombra could have worked, Soldier could have worked. worked, but they just needed to keep their win conditions alive. They needed to make sure Covino was safe, had the sight lines, and could pressure Woover out. But also, Legacy just played around them so well.
Well, when you talk about Wells, that's precisely where we are. And the potential here for a couple of boops to come on out. No one knocked out for now. There we go. That's a little bit safer. You don't want to get knocked there off the edge, but it doesn't even matter. Mini goes down. Arceus out of mech as well. You can see a couple of players here on the point for SereNity, but they're going to get forced back as well. One would like to think the advantage now going over to Legacy here, going to start capturing the point right as it's available. And slowly but surely, it's just starting off like the previous one did. They're going to be able to capture this one.
Maybe even a little bit worse here, because for SereNity, they don't want to be attempting to try and face Legacy around that backside of the well. Woover had such great angles, and again, no one from SereNity could really challenge him. Covino's on a Genji this time around. He's not going to be the one to stop Woover, who already is on a Rocket Barrage. We've seen what he can do with Rocket Barrage so far on Lighthouse, and it's likely he'll do it again. Yeah,
actually taking quite a bit of time to capture the point, but at the same time, it feels like being allowed to build up these ultimates here for Legacy. Slowly, but ever so surely, though, SereNity has actually managed to pull this back.
Well, that's the thing, right? They grounded Woover, and now they're getting a few ultimates themselves in there. It's kind of still not quite decided yet. Both teams, this has been the longest opening fight I think we've seen so far for a while, and it's going to be SereNity finally now with 4 members on the cap. Legacy just backing off, getting that full reset in, but they have a lot to play with coming into the next fight. SereNity, a little bit of an advantage.
The trickle certainly seemed to work there for SereNity. It took a while, though. It took a very, very long while. As you can see, the ultimates coming out now across the board, ready to go. I think we're going to have 5 ready for Legacy as they push on through here to try and make the most of it. Here's the Dragon Blade coming out from Covino. So far, no one's gone down. However, finally, Zafira is picked up. That's one support that is useful. Woovo picked up as well by the D.Va, and the Primal Rage going to come out here. Should be able to secure this fight here for SereNity.
Risky res from Strawbella at the end there as well. Woovo, he got denied by Arceus. This is kind of the counters coming into play now. SereNity, they're identifying how we need to win this. They got aggressive very early on. You saw Covino diving in Dragon Blade early. Woovo wanted to respond. Arceus straight into his face. Legacy Esports, again, they're trying to sort of damage control the scenario. Strawbella couldn't get the res off, and they couldn't win the fight.
And we saw a lot of ultimates coming out from Legacy as well. They had 4 available. Now they've only got 1. Going to see the Pulse Bomb come out from Nox. I don't think anything gets happening from that one, however. Still on fire, still going strong. 60% now. Slowly but surely making their way there. Self-destruct out into the open. No one going to get picked up for now. Covino almost gets picked up, but thankfully saved by that sound barrier. Let's see how this fight plays out for SereNity. The D.Va is D-mech'd, and Woovo finds Fluoro Ash as well. So, potential here now for Legacy to turn this around. If they want to, it has to be here.
SereNity now have to try and just defend this point as best they can. Stall out, have a few members remaining. Definitely don't commit the Transcendence here, but they are looking for roughly 90% if they can even get that far. That's a big enough lead that for SereNity, they just have to find one more fight win. Now that they've also bled ultimates out of Legacy as well, it's definitely within their power to get this win.
It is. Legacy, you can see, however, are starting to build those ultimates back up. Primal Rage almost ready to go. Woovo's going to be ready with the barrage as well. They can just hold it back for a little bit longer. Maybe they can counter the ultimates that force their way under the side here from SereNity. Woovo, barrage is ready and waiting. And with Covino going down straight away in this fight, if you're a support player, maybe you're feeling just a little bit more secure right now. Woovo not needing his ultimate right now, because you can see Carroll Koala coming up ace here with the goods. And a very clean fight. Even though it ticked all the way through to 75% here, AVRL, the guys from Legacy always had this one in the bag.
SereNity couldn't find targets there, right? Because you look at the way they dived in right onto the side. Woover had free reign there, not targeted himself this time around. Strawbella responded with the Valkyrie. Look how many ultimates Legacy still have around there. Such a cheap fight win for Legacy. They're going to be able to snowball this probably all the way to 99% themselves. SereNity now kind of looking like they're on the back foot.
Here comes the trance, and let's hope for SereNity's sake they're going to make the most of it. Barrage comes through, finds no kills right now, and Zafira going to get taken down by Mini. So what can Caramel Koala do? Would love to try and find a pick or two. Want to try and take down this Genji as well. Going to get forced back down to only 4 HP. So very low. The heals will come out, and that's going to try and keep him alive for now. 75 to 87. The players for SereNity, though, are the ones who have the numbers on the point. Sound barrier comes out. Zafira doing his best to try and keep his team alive. They're going to almost even up this point. but I'm not sure if SereNity is going to have the numbers to try and force this through.
It's not quite enough there. The sound barrier only caught 3 as well. On top of that, Wuvo did go down to Arceus. Now the counter sound barrier from the other side, it's looking much better. This one takes 4. Cap's about to hit the 99%, but you do expect SereNity to cap this one over once again as Strawbella goes down.
Skull, self-destruct comes on out. Should be able to get the mech back. And yeah, should be safe. So that's going to be useful. Caramel Koala ready to go with the Pulse Bomb. Going to throw it out into, I don't think anyone was there, but it doesn't matter. Arceus goes down. Cavino goes down. Overtime should go down. It's only Forbles there up the back. And you will see one last support player come onto the side. But you would like to think that maybe Legacy can make this 2-0.
Oh man, but these supports are just trying to stay alive as long as they can, waiting for the respawners. There's a few respawners now finally into the fray. I think we're going to see another full round of fights come on through.
Oh man, this just does not want to end, does it? 99%, that is where Legacy's at. Fluoroash has been picked up as we hear. The Dragon Blade coming on out. Does manage to find Wuvo, but Nox goes down. Still the numbers in Legacy's favor. Look at that, Convino finally picked up to overtime. Does this time tick away. Legacy 2-0 here on Ilios.
We saw the longest opening fight on Well as well, the longest closing fight. That was ridiculous, both the start and the end of SereNity just trying to pull on through, but it wasn't quite enough. They shut Wuvo down a lot of times around on Well, which is something they couldn't do on Lighthouse. But other than that, it was a lot of Arceus doing that job, but when you needed to see the rest of the kills come through, getting just Wuvo oftentimes isn't enough.
I love that. Right at the end there, we see going down into the well, knowing I'm good enough to jump in here and jump on back out. I do want, I want to steal this kill before that player falls into the well.
All right, well, that was
despite
being despite being a 2-0 there for Legacy, that does feel like it's a good introduction into this series where it was still reasonably close.
Yeah, and I think Legacy did come in favored anyway, so it's not super surprising, but I would have expected SereNity to maybe grab one of those two maps in there, either Lighthouse or Well more. I guess more specifically Well, because it just was a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
But the Lighthouse was just more so in the favor of Legacy. That was a bit disappointing from SereNity's perspective.
Yeah, I don't know which one really you would say is more disappointing, because if you can get all the way up to practically 80%, which is where SereNity got, as we said, we would like to think that they should be able to put their ults together and take that point eventually and bring it back, but that wasn't the case.
Did you feel as though maybe it was an error in the team composition there from SereNity? They didn't utilize Pharah at all, and Wuvo was obviously given quite a lot of space as a result.
I'm not convinced if they really have a Pharah in their back pocket, and they should be seeing this coming on through. It well has to be quite surprising because that opening fight was just a huge blunder. They went around the backside of, what is it? Is it a lighthouse or a windmill? Whatever
it's a windmill, yeah.
They went around the backside of the windmill, and you saw it from Wuvo's perspective. His angle was amazing. He had so much coverage, splash damage, everything you could have asked for. But for SereNity, just in the total wrong place.
Yeah, less than ideal, certainly. But they come out with a 2-0 loss. If you Legacy, feeling good after that, I think. I don't know if it's going to be a 4-0 though, Jordan.
Yeah, well, that's the real question for me. I mean, Pixie was pretty confident about it. Well, he was confident and then he wasn't confident.
I feel like Pixie kind of hedges his bets a little bit. He comes out there with something outrageous and then just smooths it over a little bit with something a little bit less outrageous. Kind of what I do, because that's really, for me, that's the easy way to cover all bases, right? But the potential is still there, and if you're going to 4-0, that's the start you want.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the start that you need. I guess as far as things have gone, 2-0 is about as good as it's going to get for Legacy there on Ilios. Anyway, we are heading on to Hollywood, which is naturally SereNity's map choice. And we shall see whether or not that's going to work out a little bit better for them. Now, traditionally, they have been a little bit better here on the hybrid maps than they have been on the control. So that potentially gives them a little bit of an advantage coming into map 2.
I think this also is going to be a better map for Cavino in particular, because Hollywood is quite a somber, favored map, and we're going to have to see if Legacy want to go down that same route as well, match the somber play with somebody of their own, either from Caramel Koala or Wuvo. But for certain, for SereNity, this has to be, I would like to say, a possible 1-1 return, and then going to map 3, it's even. So Hollywood is favored on paper for SereNity, yeah.
The other thing, right, is that as far as I'm aware, Elfishguy, you tell me if your notes are wrong, but this says to me that the guys from SereNity are 2 from 2 on hybrid maps, whilst Legacy have lost Hollywood.
Yeah, I'm never wrong, Ben, so I don't even know
You
why
are
you would
wrong
question
so often, but your notes are probably okay.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think that obviously SereNity coming into this one, particularly as a result of Camino on the Sombra, is going to be quite a good sort of a scenario for them. So I would kind of agree that we're going to go back to a 1 apiece here, particularly also given the fact that Legacy has struggled on Hollywood in the past. But let's find out.
Well, we take a look at who is going to defend. It's going to be Legacy. I guess no real surprises there. Are you a big fan? I'm a big fan of defending first. I think there's a lot you can get from it. What are your thoughts?
It's a big advantage in the sense that if you get a full hold somewhere, you get a very clear goal and a clear objective of what you need to do. So in terms of a planning perspective, when you then attack again, you just got to say, well, this is the distance we got to make and plan exactly around that. So defending first is nice.
Actually manage what you need to achieve. On the other end, it's an open-ended goal, right? It's just get to the end as quickly as possible, whilst on the flip side, it can be a little bit clearer.
Now, there is one sort of X factor here that I didn't talk about sort of in the preview as we went into Hollywood. Now, we saw Cavino on Sombra before. We know he plays a Sombra, but Carroll Koala, he's got a Widowmaker in the back pocket that's pretty deadly. And Hollywood is also a map, especially on the B point, where we do see the Widowmaker come out. So I am also looking forward to seeing him on that.
A sniper in the streets, that's what we like to see, and we see quite a lot of it, to be perfectly honest. So whether Carroll Koala pulls that one out is yet to be seen. But for now, let's see what Cavino can do here. Oh, the hack comes out. Does manage to take that
health pack.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Lovely health pack.
One free health pack.
Safira already taking down Nox, so it's going to slow things down at least a little bit. And that's a bit of an awkward place for SereNity to be. They're kind of just stuck here. They've got to wait for this respawner. And if Legacy are quick, they could actually potentially jump onto SereNity, but the respect is coming out.
Yeah, let's see if we can get one hack off here to make life a little bit easier. Carroll Koala trying to come around the back. Wants to catch these players off guard. And here's the dive up onto the point. Skull down below, so maybe in the wrong position. No, that's precisely, I think, where he wanted to get there. Taking a fair bit of damage, going to try and force Cavino out. There you go, going to need to do that one as well. Get out of dodge, nice and safe. Almost 1/3 tick here, but for now is still contested. Numbers for SereNity, kind of, not really. Cavino did manage to pick up Skull. We'll really see what Nox can do here, and if he can stay alive.
We did get one tick though, so in terms of at least point pressure, SereNity have that. What they don't have is members remaining. They're about to lose all... Okay, just about to eat my words there, but as Nox cleaned up too. But Carroll Koala, it was very close. Sort of came down the last few members there. 56.3, not quite at 2 ticks just yet, but for SereNity, built up a couple of ultimates, or at least getting towards a couple of ultimates. First EMP coming in play here from either side is going to be important, especially if that EMP catches the other Sombra.
Yeah, well, that's the crucial thing. We've seen EMP make huge difference across fights here, particularly here in Australia. What can Carroll Koala do? Got the pulse bomb ready to go. Catches the Winston. Picks up the Winston mini, goes down, pushes through. You can see that we've lost the Diva as well in the process. Wuvo does come back, but Safira takes out Arceus. That's been crucial. EMPs have been used now as well, and that's going to allow SereNity to find the point.
And they came out at roughly simultaneously as well. SereNity, though, they just got more picks. Legacy on the back foot there. They needed to find a couple more that they couldn't get. We had close fights, but this time was SereNity definitely in the lead. And you can also see them taking forward positioning, forward hacks as well, getting the cart underway. Legacy not quite sniping just yet.
That's not a bad time at all coming out for SereNity. They took a few goes, but nothing to be sneezed at. And 4 minutes on the clock for this second point. That's okay, yeah?
2 defensive ultimates as well is going to be really good because you expect Legacy to get aggressive as they are now. And either of those defensive ultimates could swing this fight very heavily in SereNity's favor.
Where's the self-destruct? There's one from one side. Still, Arceus holding his, and well, with Cavino going down, that's going to make life less than ideal. The self-destruct now from Arceus does find Wuvo. It's nice to get one of the shooters off the roof. Going to chase on back up the top. See what they can do. Nox again with a pulse bomb, throws it onto the Diva. Does not get the D-Mech as yet, but follows up with the pistols and does manage to clean that one up. Still trying to push the payload. A lot of action going down here, and you can see the Transcendent's going to come out as well. This might be enough to try and push this one through here for SereNity.
This is SereNity throwing everything in the kitchen sink in there as well. The EMP to follow up. They really felt like they had to use everything to get the cart even pushing. Look at where it is right now. To be honest, despite how much ultimate was used, it's not super good distance onto the cart. And you got to credit Legacy for keeping the fight onto the cart so they could contest it while SereNity were throwing ultimate.
It was actually quite a prolonged fight, and to be in the end, it felt maybe that Transcendence was enough to get them through, but they did use the EMP. I'm not 100% sure whether it was required or not. Maybe we can talk about that one later. I'm sure you have an opinion here, AVRL. So, onto the payload once again. We'll follow it out with Mini trying to take down the opposing Winston. There you go, Tac Visor. Also going to be used here by Wubo. Going to try and pick up Sombra. Not at the moment, though. That translocator comes out, but it doesn't matter. Picks up 2. And in the meantime, Mini goes down to Saphira. So Legacy managing to grab a hold here right at this last section of the second point.
Oh, his late kill on the Cavino as well, just going to slow things down even more considerably for SereNity. And with that, Legacy Esports going to take high ground control. Very important for this defensive team, especially with Werver onto the Soldier. This is exactly what they're looking for now going to this next defense. 2 minutes 03 remaining. SereNity not quite onto EMP. They maybe have 2, maybe 2.5 attack attempts remaining.
They're going to be tough attack attempts as well, to be perfectly honest. I think there's potential here for Legacy to hold this just before the second point, and if they do, it's going to be a tough ask for SereNity to come around and defend it. EMP does come out, and there's the sound barrier coming out right on after as well, so trying to save that one through. Winning up on top. Oh my goodness.
It's pretty ridiculous as well, the amount of resource that was thrown at him, and Legacy now still trying to find additional pick-on-throughs. We're working towards that tactical visor himself, D-Mix Arceus, but will it be enough? Is he finally just heading towards that 100%? Won't need it because the rest of his team is going to collect the kills. And there it is, SereNity once again rebuffed. Legacy Esports will have another opportunity to reset themselves on top of the roof, and it's back to square one for SereNity, except this time, no EMP.
Yeah, makes life just that little bit more difficult. They've got Mini, they've got Arceus there with both of their ultimates, but they have essentially one push left here. So they're going to need to make the most of it. And as we have seen, Legacy seems to be just that level above them, both literally and figuratively here as they're sitting on the roof.
And the other problem is the Kant has moved backwards, so even if they do win this fight, Legacy could get a second one. Here comes the tactical visor. What will it find?
Well, Wubo forced back off the point there. The Primal Rage coming out in the nick of time, trying to get that Diva. Actually manages to find the frag as the self-destruct does come out. Fluoroash getting that kill there, so that's going to be crucial. Wubo forced back and actually taken out. Cavino and Fluoroash both doing a ton of damage across the board. Cavino goes down, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 players left alive for Legacy. SereNity, on the other hand, looks like just Nox here. A couple of players trying to push into the cart. What can he do?
Massive kill into Saphira, just shy of the Transcendence as well. Cavino now coming up to another EMP. This could be the one that swings it in SereNity's favor. Finally gets them across the point. They're so close. And it's Legacy just trying to get final members reinforcing to this count. Anybody just to stop this cap.
Here comes the Valkyrie and the Dragon Blade at the same time. So I would like to think that Nox maybe can find a kill or two, trying to chase down Straw Bella. There we go. Mini actually is the one to clean her up there. And the point should now finally go over to SereNity. It looked 30 seconds ago like that maybe that wouldn't be the case, but they got just enough players on. The trickle from Legacy wasn't strong enough. How do we feel coming here with a minute 20 on the clock?
That's not a lot of time, but SereNity do have some tools to use. Cavino crucially saved the EMP from the last fight, and now going to be able to use it this one around. And for Legacy Esports, Strabella changing onto the Lucio. Fresh hero, no ultimate charge whatsoever. Wuvo has to get a tank visor for this to be effective.
By the time we get to this point, there's actually only 60 seconds remaining here. Cavino, Translocator, EMP, hits a couple. We'll see if it's enough. The Tac Visor are going to come out here as well. Wubo holding all the way back and trying to force this damage through. Hard through the Trans, to be perfectly honest. Forble's actually going to be forced back here. Caramel Koala takes him down. That may help SereNity losing one support. And of course, Legacy being able to trickle out onto this point so very, very easily as well. The fight continues. Mini goes down to Wubo. Wubo finds a second. Fluoroash is found. And Legacy able to hold this point as SereNity find their way forced back.
That's a rough fight for SereNity to lose. They needed to win every single fight from this point onwards. Now, even if they do get this Legacy fight win, with only 16 seconds remaining, they're 100% going to overtime. Even when they get to the end of the point, it's in overtime. Legacy got respawn advantages, and SereNity can only try and snowball.
You can see 2 ultimates ready to go, and one of those is thrown out straight away. Cavino with the EMP again. Let's see if that is going to be enough. Nothing from the self-destruct for now. Pushing the payload forward. Nox finds one, actually. Forbles goes down, but Cavino playing some very nice work here on this Sombra. Legacy has lost a number of players, but both Skull and Cinderella will have time to respawn with these ultimates, and we'll have to wait and see whether that's going to be enough to hold them on the point.
Every single meter here counts for SereNity. They're not maybe expected to cap. They would like to. It's the dream to be able to do it, and they have to get a lot of kills and important kills to get that work done right now. It's so crucial with no time remaining.
Overtime is where it's at. There you go. Wuvo coming out with a very nice tack visor from behind, putting damage out across
Skull.
the board. And Skull with the self-destruct should mean this is it. Legacy holds out just before the end. SereNity just a little bit too far. I don't know. Is that enough, AVRL?
I think it's a very good distance with what they managed to get, 67.31 as it says there. No time remaining as well. To be fair, they were barely able to get past B. So to get this far into C, look how far it is, just barely shy of the end point. It's very defendable for SereNity. It would have been very poor if maybe they got to C and the cart was still sort of around that first bend. That would be very difficult to defend, but this is winnable.
Yeah, we actually see a lot of payloads getting to this particular point and no further. So it's really going to come down to how SereNity can defend, and we actually haven't seen them defend yet. You know, control point's a little bit of a different beast.
It is, and they're going to be changing things up a little bit as well with Kavina now onto the Junkrat. Likely to see potential Orisa Hog here from Mini and Arceus and for Legacy themselves as well. Already looking like they want to go for this heavy tank composition, and the first point defense on A, very important for SereNity as well as B, because you're looking to buy a lot of time moving to C. When SereNity push into C, they push in with, what, 1 minute 30? They can't be into overtime. They got to force that also onto Legacy over there if they want that chance to win. Yeah,
they need to try and buy as much time as they can at every single point. It's not just like, oh yeah, we held out for 2.5 minutes, that was okay. You need to make it count. Wow, I wish I was rich.
I've never actually looked close enough to see that number plate. That's
you think?
Honestly, somebody probably has that in real life, I think.
No parking anytime.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
That's exactly what you'd expect to see for someone with an I'm rich number plate, mate. That's why you need to tow them, not just give them parking tickets.
Oh.
Quad tank coming out from Legacy. We've seen it work before. We've seen it fail before. But not for Legacy so far. And I want to see if they can just steamroll their way onto this point like an electric-powered car who does not care who's in his road.
Yeah, it's going to be unstoppable force versus potentially immovable object, and which one will come out on top of that. SereNity, though, got to hold their ground. Can't allow Legacy to push in on them. Put that shield up and don't move.
Look at this. Wuvo has managed to do a ton of damage. Look at this. Almost 100 energy right now, and no one has tried to get in his way. And looking very, very nice here for Legacy on this point. Coalescence, I think, even coming out there as well. So a very quick capture onto this first point if they can survive the Riptire.
And the Riptire, yep, call that one a survival. Indeed, Safari just boops it away. That's a pretty embarrassing way to lose a tie if I've ever seen one for SereNity now. Looking like a pretty big compositional change-up to see what Kavina wants to go here. Sombra as well, which is actually a very decent counter to what Legacy want to run. Legacy themselves should maybe consider changing up compositions as soon as they get these ultimates out. But for right now, keep on charging as much distance as you can, get these grabs out, get the whole hog, the Earth Shatters, and then think about other things later.
Literally the only ultimate not near being ready here for Legacy is Strawbella, and that's because she already used her Coalescence once on that first battle. So a pretty good position here to be in if you are Legacy Esports, and they're going to continue pushing through this payload. If they can find a couple of picks there up the top as well, no one's decided to drop down as of yet either. Oh, there we go. Graviton Surge comes on out, the self-destruct over the top, but just misses the chip onto the green.
That's going to be disappointing. I wouldn't be happy with that one. It's going to be SereNity jumping down anyway. Tank Visor now from Nox, looking for targets, but he can't really find that much so far. And for Legacy Esports still holding on, Cinderella still has that Earth Shatter. Might not even need it because Carroll Koala came out big. Double kill on the whole hog.
Doesn't even matter. And Nox now about to go down here to a very, very overpowered Wuvo right now.
It's taking a while, though.
It is actually taking a while. I thought maybe Wuvo was going to be at more charge than that, but was actually only at 30 by the time that battle did kick off. But so much time on the clock as they come through to the end of point number 2.
Yeah, and it doesn't even look like SereNity are going to be able to get on this. And okay, they are, and this is going to be really tricky because they've already lost many, and they might lose Arcast, and they've lost a point as well. This is turning into a total disaster now for SereNity as they try and back off. They wanted to stop that cart. Not only could they not stop it, then they lost members for it too.
Yeah, they got it in the cart just in time for everyone who got there to die and not actually do anything. So that's probably the worst result they could have got there. Did not manage to slow it down at all, and just gave more ultimate charge across. For me now, I want to see how do these ultimates play out. Oh, there's the hack into self-destruct. Finds 3.
What?
Wow.
Oh boy, that's an Chaos bomb. Chaos has kind of these... I've talked to this guy before. He doesn't necessarily plan the bombs. He's kind of I'm going to throw it, see what happens.
Yep.
This looks good. It feels good.
Yeah.
And that should feel good.
It's not about numbers. It's about you know, right? You send it off and you're like, oh yeah, that's good. It's gone in the right place. The timing is right. Everyone's in the right position. It doesn't hurt when you got an EMP stacked onto it either. But it doesn't seem to make a difference here because they have pushed this a long way forward. Graviton Surge comes out.
Point blank charge.
Yeah.
Oh man, Cinderella's just kind of bullying them at the moment as well. Minnie's trying to push anybody around. The Earthshatter finally coming out straight to the Coalescence as well. And now the members of SereNity falling by the wayside. And the point is just barely ahead of Legacy as well. They just need to inch it forward. And SereNity now need to just try and get as many members alive as they can. Get back onto this cart. Minnie's the first one there, and it'll be the first one dead as well.
Absolutely. This is going to be easy game, easy life for Legacy. They push onto the point, and GG is the result. 3 and 2. I don't know, man. We talked about this comp, right? We talked about the quad tank. Like, well, probably time to change off when they get rid of those ultimates. But the reality was, they didn't feel like they needed to.
They didn't lose, and that's the thing, because when you look at B, the reason you consider changing off onto the B point, onto the streets phase, is you can't attack high ground very effectively with contact. There's not a lot of mobility. You have to go into the elevators, the lifts, slowly get your way up there, and it's not very effective. Now, the problem is SereNity didn't take advantage of the height. They sort of just waited around, got themselves grabbed, got themselves engaged upon, and that was all over. The next time SereNity came out for a push, the cart was too far along for the height to matter.
Didn't really seem like SereNity was in that one at all, actually, as it was essentially just Legacy continuing to push and push and push and push. And
they spectated it just like us.
Yeah, there was one good fight. That was the Archeus bomb and the EMP combo from Cavino, and that was it. That was literally all that SereNity got out of that matchup on Hollywood there. So now 2-0 here for Legacy. We sort of came into this one expecting potentially a close series, but it might be leaning the other way now.
Yeah,
I'm just concerned Pixie's going to be right. Like, that's my biggest issue right here.
Yeah, that would definitely be less than ideal. Come all the way over to Australia and get his predictions on Party.
Because it's not even like he's really predicting. He's just like, I'm just going to throw it out there.
Yeah. But that's what it feels like, to be perfectly honest. Legacy have just played at that 1 tier above SereNity. And I think for me, as you said, that second section there on Hollywood, they knew they were supposed to be up the top, but they didn't seem to know what to do when they were there.
Yeah, they kind of just sat there and looked. Like I said, they were spectating the game, much like we were. And as they were doing that, Legacy are happy to just keep on pushing the cart, because the further the cart gets, the less that high ground matters. You can get the high ground advantage, but it only means something if you do something about it.
And no Widowmaker in the end either. Very sad.
Yeah,
no
well, that was sad.
Maybe that will come up here in our next couple of maps. We're going to go to a quick break here, the halftime break. We'll be back with our second and final 2 maps of today very soon.